最初にして最大の敵だったのかもしれんな。
これから組むという情報。
エネルを
46億1110万ダリー。
Hello everyone, Skippy here, and welcome to One Piece episode 959, directed by Yusuke Suzuki and supervised by Shuichi Ito. As we kick off Act 3 with a brief day before flashback that chronicles some unfortunate events before we get into the meat of the real flashback, this episode stands as damn near the perfect one for director Yusuke Suzuki to handle, as his steady improvement over the past year that's filled his once cardboard-like direction with tons of zest seems to be continuing once again, with the lighting and overall composite looking immersive enough for every locale, and the storyboard so far not looking flat or lifeless, which will help what is a pretty conversation-heavy episode be eye-grabbing. With Shuichi Ito's cute and round-on model faces coming along for the ride as well, bringing their expected layer of polish to the content at hand, this week should turn out to be that somber opening note that Act 3 needs, despite so far only really getting a taste of what it has to offer. So will episode 959's green light for the next section of Wano fall in line with Suzuki's recent string of quality? Time to don our samurai armor and find out. This episode covers the entirety of chapter 958 in the first 8 pages of 959, and that helps this episode out tremendously in regards to feeling a lot faster than usual even if the content itself isn't much yet. While some parts are still slow so as to take on the atmosphere of the Oro Jackson and the bustling parties of the Fire Festival, which Suzuki really nailed the feel of, the larger than usual page count helps this episode flow a lot better than it would have if it were only a chapter or a half one at that, allowing the dialogue to flow pretty well for the most part, and for some small filler to still be added, in form of expanding on the comedic scenes visually that I really did enjoy. And they seem to understand just how strange it was to stop covering the source material at the pace that they did, to add the scene of Inuarashi grabbing the boat and Kinemon wondering just what Orochi did to everyone to after the Leftovers town, so it can be perfectly set up for the first half of next week where we see just that. It's all in all just much more than I ever expected from this episode in an overall adaptation sense. And while some parts may still feel stilted and a bit odd in the grand scheme of things, it's really what this episode achieves generally speaking that makes me give it a clean pass. After Suzuki's past few episodes blew me away in terms of what he's capable of storyboard-wise, I was expecting his board here to be yet another example of that would really show how far he's come. And it seriously did just that. Even when you look past the immersive and crusty look that he gave to Port Tokage that just feels so right, Suzuki tries some pretty small but ambitious things that I've not seen from him at all outside of his camera shakes and blurring that he siphoned from Nagamine, with a rotation shot of Kinemon as we scroll along all the scabbards being what stood out to me the most and impressed me the most by far. Sure, some shots may still fall into the territory of looking flat like certain crowd shots, and the episode is almost void of some good transitions between locales, but Suzuki himself seems to be greatly sticking to what's worked for him for his past few episodes in terms of camera work, while also trying out and experimenting with so many new things. And that's such a massive improvement from someone who I used to call one of the weakest directors on the show almost 2 years ago now. What made that much better thanks to Shuichi Ito's corrections that are thorough no matter the shot, 959 was a surprise to be sure, even if it's a more standard episode. I'm sure some may lock onto its few pitfalls and dislike it because of that, but there's just a general aura of ambition that permeates throughout this entire episode that surprised even me going into it. I was expecting something good, obviously, because I've been liking Suzuki's episodes a fair bit as of late. And if this is what we can expect from future Act 3 episodes with even more pizzazz thanks to the skills of other directors, then I'm more than ready. And when next week we're finally being treated to co-series director Ayo Kamaki's next personally directed episode with episode 960, we'll likely see what we saw here and even more. The preview is already oozing with so much Komaki-filled atmosphere, sheer character, and attention to detail when it comes to compositing and lighting no matter the area. And with Masayuki Takagi's corrections at bay as he finally gets another massively important episode after 912, there is bound to be tons and tons of angular and chaotic expressions. With what seems to be yet another seemingly 1.5 chapter episode on our hands, which thankfully makes it so the preview doesn't spoil too much, I am simply counting down the days till we thrust right into the flashback of the former soon-to-be Shogun. Anyways guys, that's it for now. I'm Skippy, and I hope them using more CG this episode is a sign of things to come, because they're definitely going to be needing it.